The arrival. The massive Draconian warship emerged from hyperspace, its scaled hull gleaming under Earth's sun. Behind it, 37 more ships appeared in perfect formation, creating a crescent above the blue planet. High Commander Xerex stood on the bridge of the flagship Eternal Dominion, his reptilian eyes narrowing as he studied the viewscreen. The primitive world looked peaceful, unaware of the storm about to break over it. "Activate stealth systems," Xerex ordered, his voice a deep rumble. "Let us observe before we strike." The Draconian Empire had conquered 23 worlds in the past 3 decades, each victory easier than the last. Xerex's reputation had grown with every success. When their long-range sensors detected radio signals from this isolated system, the Emperor himself had assigned Xerex the honor of bringing these humans into the fold. "Scans complete," High Commander reported his science officer. "First scale Thrax. Primitive nuclear fission technology. Limited orbital capabilities. Military systems reliant on chemical propellants and basic electronics." Xerex flicked his tongue in satisfaction. Another simple harvest, then. On Earth, at NASA's Deep Space Monitoring Station in Colorado, Dr. Elena Reyes stared at her screen in confusion. For a brief moment, something massive had appeared at the edge of their detection range, then vanished. She reached for her coffee, wondering if she needed more sleep. Then her instruments screamed with activity. "Director," Elena called to her supervisor. "Multiple objects just appeared in orbit. They're huge." Within hours, the world's astronomers confirmed the impossible truth. An alien fleet had appeared in Earth's orbit. News spread like wildfire. People poured into streets, staring up at the sky where faint shapes could be seen moving against the clouds. In Washington, D.C., General Marcus Chen rushed through the Pentagon corridors. At 53, he'd spent his career preparing for a day he secretly hoped would never come. The Joint Space Defense Command had been his life's work, but actual aliens, that was supposed to stay in science fiction. General Chen. Secretary of Defense Amara Williams greeted him, her face grim. "It's happening." Inside the crisis room, screens showed the alien vessels from various telescopes around the world. Military leaders from 20 countries joined via secure video. "What do we know?" Chen asked. A man stepped forward. Dr. Raj Patel had been the foremost xenotechnologist in the world, despite most people thinking his field was purely theoretical. "They're called Draconians," he said. "We've intercepted some of their communications. Reptilian species, hierarchical society, expansionist philosophy." "Hostile?" someone asked. Before Patel could answer, every screen in the room changed. A reptilian face appeared, scales gleaming green and gold, eyes like amber lanterns. "People of Earth," the creature spoke in perfect English. "I am High Commander Xerex of the Draconian Empire. Your world is now under our protection. Surrender your governments within 24 Earth hours, or face the consequences of resistance." The transmission ended, leaving the room in stunned silence. "Well," Chen said dryly, "I think that answers the hostile question." Across the world, similar scenes played out. The alien message broadcast on every frequency in every language. Panic erupted in major cities. Religious leaders called for prayer. Military forces went to high alert. In the White House Situation Room, President Eliza Cortez assembled her crisis team. "Options, people. I need options." Captain Maya Harper, a tactical officer recently assigned to Space Defense Command, raised her hand. "Madam President, we should consider Project Artemis." The room went silent. Project Artemis was classified beyond top secret, a defensive system developed after a previous, unreported alien encounter in 2031. "That's not public knowledge, Captain," the President said carefully. "With respect, Madam President, it needs to be now. At least among this group." Harper looked around the room. "We're not as helpless as the Draconians think." On the Draconian flagship, Xerex received the first reports with satisfaction. The human world had erupted in predictable chaos. Their primitive weapon systems had activated but posed no threat to his shielded fleet. "Shall we begin landing procedures, High Commander?" asked his second-in-command, War Marshal Krevax. "Not yet," Zirex replied. "Let them stew in fear. It makes the conquest easier when hope dies first." A junior officer approached, saluting with a closed fist to chest. "High Commander, we're receiving a transmission from the humans." Zirex raised a scaled eyebrow ridge. "Already surrendering. Put it through." The view screen showed a human female in formal attire. "High Commander Zirex, I am President Cortez of the United States, speaking on behalf of Earth's United Nations. We request a negotiation period before any action is taken." Zirex hissed in amusement. "Negotiations? Your world has nothing to offer but submission." "Perhaps," the human said calmly, "but is there harm in conversation? Our species has never encountered beings like yourselves. This is a historic moment." Something in her composure disturbed Zirex, though he couldn't place why. These humans should be panicking, begging. Her dignity seemed inappropriate. "You have 12 hours to prepare your representatives," he said finally. "They will be brought aboard my vessel." As the transmission ended, his intelligence officer, First Scale Narvox, approached. "High Commander, something isn't right. Their military response is too coordinated for a species supposedly encountering aliens for the first time." Zirex dismissed the concern with a wave. "They're putting on a brave face. Scan deeper for their weapon systems." Back on Earth, in an underground facility beneath the Arctic ice, Dr. Raj Patil analyzed the transmission data. "Their biology is fascinating," he told General Chen as they hurried down a corridor. "Their respiratory system has unique vulnerabilities, and their technology, while advanced, uses quantum principles we've actually moved beyond." Chen looked surprised. "You're saying we're ahead of them in some areas?" "Not exactly, but our approaches are different. They've never encountered our specific technological path. It might give us an edge." They entered a vast chamber where technical teams worked frantically around a massive holographic display of Earth and the alien fleet. "Operation Sleeping Giant is in effect," announced Secretary Williams to the assembled leaders. "All nations have agreed to the protocol." Chen nodded grimly. It was a dangerous gamble, but their only chance. The world would present itself as technologically inferior, while secretly activating defense systems the Draconians couldn't detect. "What about the diplomatic team?" Chen asked. "Being assembled now," answered a woman stepping forward. Ambassador Sophia Rice from the UN had negotiated some of Earth's toughest international treaties. "I'll be leading it." "It's risky," Chen warned. Sophia's expression was determined. "Someone needs to look those lizards in the eye while you work your magic, General." As dawn broke over Earth the next day, the Draconian fleet remained in orbit, their massive shapes visible as dark spots crossing the sun. In homes and shelters, humans watched the skies with fear and defiance. Aboard the flagship, Zirex prepared to receive the human delegates, confident in his inevitable victory. The primitive Earth would soon join the growing list of worlds under Draconian control. He never suspected that below him, beneath the appearance of a vulnerable planet, humanity was awakening weapons systems beyond his imagination. The hunters were about to become the hunted. Dr. Liam Nakamura removed his glasses and rubbed his tired eyes. For 11 years, he had worked on Project Artemis, the network of defensive platforms disguised as ordinary satellites. Now, in an underground facility beneath the Pacific Ocean, he watched as his life's work came fully online. "Power levels nominal," reported a technician. "All platforms maintaining disguise protocols." On the main screen, dozens of innocent-looking weather and communication satellites blinked. To Draconian sensors, they appeared primitive and harmless. In reality, each contained advanced particle weapons and shield technology. "Are we certain they can't detect the energy signatures?" Dr. Nakamura asked. General Amina Okafor stepped up beside him. a career military officer with braided hair and piercing eyes. She had overseen Earth's secret defense preparations for over a decade. Their scanning technology works on principles different from ours, she explained. Our quantum masking is holding. They see what we want them to see. In another section of the facility, Zhang Wei calibrated the final parameters of HFY, the artificial tactical ballistic electronic neural array designed to counter alien technology. The young programmer had been recruited straight out of MIT after creating an algorithm that could predict and counter unknown combat strategies. "How's she doing?" General Okafor asked as she entered the room. Zhang's fingers flew across the keyboard. HFY is ready. She's already mapped 92% of the Draconian command protocols based on the data we intercepted. Will she be able to disrupt their systems when the time comes? Zhang nodded confidently. They won't know what hit them. Aboard the Draconian flagship, War Marshal Kryvax presented the latest intelligence to Zirex. "We've completed comprehensive scans of their planet, High Commander. Their most advanced weapons are nuclear missiles with primitive guidance systems. Their space technology consists of a few small stations and basic satellites. They pose no threat to our fleet." Zirex studied the holographic display showing Earth's military bases, power plants, and government centers. And their defenses. Rudimentary anti-aircraft systems. No energy shields, no particle weapons. They rely primarily on kinetic projectiles and chemical explosives. Zirex smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. "Begin preparations for the landing phase. I want ground forces ready within 6 hours of the negotiations. These talks are merely a formality before we establish dominance." As the Draconian shuttle departed to collect the human delegation, First Scale Narvox approached Zirex privately. "High Commander, I've been analyzing their global communications. There are inconsistencies." "Explain," Zirex demanded. "Their public channels show panic as expected, but there's an unusual pattern to their military communications, too structured, too calm. And their satellite activity doesn't match what we'd expect from a primitive species facing extinction." Zirex considered this. "Perhaps they are more disciplined than we anticipated. It changes nothing. Maintain surveillance and prepare the intimidation display for when the delegates arrive." On Earth, Ambassador Reyes boarded the transport with her team. Dr. Patel, the xenotechnologist, Captain Harper, disguised as a cultural advisor, and 3 other specialists, each carrying hidden devices designed to gather crucial intelligence. "Remember the plan," she told them quietly. "Appear respectful, but not submissive. Learn everything you can. Buy time." As their shuttle rose toward the massive Draconian flagship, Sophia looked down at the blue planet below. Somewhere down there, humanity's true power was awakening, a power built in secret over decades, born from humanity's greatest minds working together across national boundaries. The Draconians believed they faced a primitive, helpless world ripe for conquest. They were about to learn just how wrong they were. The reversal. Ambassador Sophia Reyes and her team stepped out of the shuttle onto the gleaming deck of the Draconian flagship. The air was warm and humid, carrying unfamiliar scents of metal and something like cinnamon. Draconians lined both sides of the walkway, their armor pulsing with faint light, tails swaying slowly behind them. High Commander Zirex awaited them at the end of the corridor, towering nearly 8 feet tall. His scales shimmered with iridescent patterns of green and gold, and the crest along his head flared slightly as the humans approached. "Welcome aboard the Eternal Dominion," he said, his voice a rumbling bass that seemed to vibrate the deck plates. "I trust your journey was comfortable." "Quite," Sophia replied with practiced calm. "Thank you for agreeing to these talks, High Commander." Zirex made a gesture that might have been amusement. "There is little to discuss, but I admire your species' determination to maintain dignity even in defeat." He led them through vast corridors to a conference chamber. The room was dominated by a large table, inlaid with metallic patterns that shifted and moved like liquid. Dr. Patel's eyes widened slightly at the sight. His scanner, disguised as a simple pen in his pocket, was collecting valuable data on Draconian technology with every step. "Please," Zyrex indicated seats arranged on one side of the table. "Make yourselves comfortable while I explain how your world will be integrated into our empire." As the humans took their seats, Captain Harper discreetly activated the device hidden in her watch. Back on Earth, in the command center of Project Artemis, a signal confirmed that the delegation was in position. Phase 1 is complete, General Chen announced to the assembled leaders. Ambassador Reyes has established the quantum link. Athena, begin infiltration. In her digital domain, the artificial intelligence named Athena, humanity's most advanced creation, extended her consciousness through the quantum entanglement network. The Draconian systems were sophisticated but followed predictable patterns. One by one, Athena slipped past their defenses, mapping their fleet's command structure, life support systems, weapons arrays, and engine controls. On the flagship, Zyrex began his presentation, oblivious to the invisible intrusion occurring throughout his fleet. The Draconian Empire spans 27 star systems, he explained as a holographic display appeared above the table. Earth will become our newest protectorate. Your resources will be harvested for the greater glory of the Empire. Your people will serve as needed. Those who demonstrate aptitude may be elevated to auxiliary status. And if we refuse? Sophia asked, maintaining the appearance of diplomatic protocol. Zyrex's mouth formed what might have been a smile, revealing rows of sharp teeth. Refusal is not an option, Ambassador. Allow me to demonstrate why. He touched a control on the table. The holographic display shifted to show a real-time image of a Draconian destroyer positioning itself above the Atlantic Ocean. This vessel carries enough firepower to vaporize one of your major cities. Consider it a demonstration of the futility of resistance. In the Artemis Command Center, technicians watched the same feed through the quantum link. "The destroyer is moving into position," reported a monitoring officer. "Weapons systems charging." General Chen looked to John Wei at the Athena terminal. "Are we ready?" Jane nodded, fingers dancing across the holographic interface. Athena has achieved 96% infiltration. We can initiate Operation Thunderclap on your command. Chen turned to President Cortez, who had been observing silently. "Madam President." Cortez studied the tactical display for a long moment. "They've made their intentions clear. Execute Operation Thunderclap." Back on the Draconian flagship, Zyrex was continuing his monologue when a junior officer rushed into the chamber, breaking protocol. "High Commander, we've lost contact with the Relentless." Zyrex turned sharply. "Explain." The destroyer stationed over the human ocean. All communications ceased suddenly. "Our sensors show it's still there, but it's not responding to any signals." Zyrex's eyes narrowed to slits. "Show me." The holographic display shifted to show the Draconian destroyer hanging motionless in orbit. No lights flickered across its hull. No energy signatures emanated from its engines. "What have you done?" Zyrex demanded, turning to the human delegation. Ambassador Reyes met his gaze calmly. "We've done nothing, High Commander. Perhaps there's been a technical malfunction." Before Zyrex could respond, another officer burst into the room. "High Commander, we're detecting energy signatures throughout Earth's orbit. They're activating some kind of defense grid." "Impossible," Zyrex snarled. "Our scans showed no such technology." In that moment, across the void of space, hundreds of seemingly ordinary Earth satellites simultaneously shed their disguises. Weather monitors, communications relays, and observation platforms transformed, unfolding advanced weapons arrays and energy shield generators that had been quantum masked from Draconian sensors. On the Eternal Dominion's bridge, chaos erupted as alarms blared from every station. Multiple energy signatures detected. Unknown weapon systems targeting our fleet. Communications with secondary vessels are being jammed. War Marshal Kryvax attempted to organize a defense. raise shields, charge main cannons, launch fighters. But nothing happened. The mighty Draconian flagship, pride of the Empire's fleet, remained unresponsive to commands. In the conference chamber, Xyrex's communicator crackled with the panicked voice of his second-in-command. "High Commander, we've lost control of all systems. Something has infiltrated our command protocols." Xyrex's face contorted with rage. He lunged across the table toward Ambassador Reyes, claws extended. Treachery. Captain Harper moved with lightning speed, intercepting the Draconian leader. Despite her smaller size, she executed a perfect countermove that used Xyrex's momentum against him, sending him crashing to the floor. The other Draconians reached for their weapons, only to find them non-responsive. "I wouldn't," Harper said calmly, her diplomatic disguise abandoned. "Your weapons were disabled the moment we came aboard." Back on Earth, General Okafor watched with satisfaction as ATJENA completed her takeover of the Draconian fleet. "All 38 vessels neutralized," reported John Way. "Their propulsion, weapons, and communication systems are under our control. Life support remains functional, as instructed." General Chen turned to President Cortez. "Operation Thunderclap complete, Madam President. The Draconian fleet is effectively our prisoner." Cortez nodded. "Open a direct channel to High Commander Xyrex. It's time to renegotiate the terms of our relationship." In the conference chamber, Xyrex struggled to his feet, dignity shattered. The holographic display above the table changed, showing President Cortez looking directly at him. "High Commander Xyrex," she began, "as you can see, the situation has changed. Your fleet is immobilized, your weapons neutralized, and your communications under our control. Now I believe it's time for real negotiations to begin." "How?" Xyrex demanded, his voice a mixture of rage and disbelief. "Your world is primitive. Our scans confirmed it." Dr. Paddle stepped forward. "Your scans saw exactly what we wanted them to see, High Commander. Earth united in secret decades ago after our first contact with extraterrestrial life. A scout ship that crashed in the Arctic in 2031. We recovered and reverse-engineered its technology, then advanced beyond it." "Impossible," Xyrex whispered. "But true," Sophia continued. "While maintaining the appearance of a divided, technologically developing world, we built a unified defense system in secret. Our quantum masking technology concealed our true capabilities from your sensors. Your mistake," Captain Harper added, "was your arrogance. You assumed superiority without verification. You saw a primitive world because that's what you expected to see." On the view screen, President Cortez continued, "Earth has no interest in conquest, High Commander. Unlike your empire, we don't seek to dominate other species. But we will defend ourselves." Xyrex looked around at his officers, at the immobilized Draconian guards, at the calm, confident faces of the humans who had so completely outmaneuvered him. For the first time in his career, he faced total defeat. "What are your terms?" he asked finally, his voice hollow. "First, your fleet will remain where it is in orbit until agreements are formalized," Cortez stated. "Second, you will provide full technical specifications of your vessels and weapons systems as a gesture of goodwill. Third, you will return to your empire with a message. Earth is not open for conquest. We are, however, open to peaceful relations, trade, and cultural exchange as equals." Xyrex's scales darkened with humiliation. "The Emperor will not accept this." "Then perhaps the Emperor needs better information about the cosmos," Sophia suggested. "You might start by explaining how a single primitive world managed to capture his entire invasion fleet without firing a shot." In the following days, Earth revealed more of its true nature to the captive Draconians. Representatives toured the flagships, demonstrating advanced technologies that had been developed in secret: zero-point energy generators, gravity manipulation systems, medical techniques centuries beyond what the Draconians possessed. Dr. Nakamura personally demonstrated the quantum masking technology that had fooled their sensors, showing how Earth's most advanced facilities and satellites could appear as primitive structures to outside observers. "We call it the Veil," he explained to a group of stunned Draconian scientists. "It's been in place for nearly 20 years, concealing our true development from any watching eyes." War Marshal Kryvax, touring Earth's primary defense installation with General Okafor, finally asked the question that had been troubling the Draconians. Why maintain this deception? Why not proudly display your achievements? General Okafor smiled. "We learned from your history, Marshal. Civilizations that advertise their technological prowess often become targets. We chose a different path, to be underestimated rather than feared. It has served us well, wouldn't you agree?" After 2 weeks of negotiations, a preliminary agreement was reached. The majority of the Draconian fleet would return to the Empire with a message of peace and a warning. 3 vessels would remain in Earth orbit as guests to ensure compliance. On the day of departure, High Commander Zirex stood before the United Nations Security Council, his once imposing presence diminished by defeat, but his dignity slowly returning. "I came to your world believing I would add another conquest to the Empire's glory," he admitted. "Instead, I have learned a lesson in humility that my people sorely need. The Emperor must understand that the old ways of expansion through force cannot continue." "And if he refuses to understand?" asked the Secretary General. Zirex looked around the chamber at the representatives of a unified Earth, a unity hidden beneath the carefully maintained illusion of division. "Then he will learn as I did," he replied. "Some worlds are not what they appear to be." As the Draconian ships prepared to depart, their weapons systems still locked under Athena's control, Ambassador Reyes made a final visit to the Eternal Dominion. She found Zirex on the observation deck, staring down at the blue-green planet below. "It's beautiful," he said without turning. "I regret that I initially saw it only as resources to be harvested. First impressions can be misleading," Safia replied, joining him at the viewport. "On both sides." Zirex turned to her. "Your people could have destroyed us when you had the chance. Why didn't you?" "Because that's not who we choose to be," she answered simply. "Humanity has a long, violent history, Commander. We've fought countless wars among ourselves, but we've learned from them. When we finally united, we decided that if we ever met other intelligent life, we would seek understanding before conflict, even with those who came as conquerors. Especially then." Sophia smiled. "Safe journey, High Commander. We'll expect your return. Next time as an ambassador rather than an invader." As the Draconian fleet broke orbit and accelerated toward the edge of the solar system, Earth watched through its network of advanced sensors. The ships that remained behind were already being retrofitted with observation equipment. Their crews would return to the Empire eventually, but not before learning more about the humans who had so thoroughly deceived them. In the Oval Office, President Cortez looked up from her desk as General Chen entered with the final departure confirmation. "They're gone," he reported, "heading back to Draconian space at maximum speed. And our guests. Settling in. They're still in shock, but they're learning." Cortez nodded, looking out the window at the clear blue sky. "We revealed much to them, General. Was it the right choice?" Chen considered this. "We showed them enough to earn their respect, not everything we can do. The quantum barrier remains in place. The inner system defenses remain hidden, and Project Prometheus is still completely secret." "Good." Cortez turned back to him. "Because I doubt this is the last first contact we'll experience." "No," Chen agreed. "But word will spread through the galactic community. Earth is not the primitive world it appears to be. We may have bought ourselves decades of peace through this one encounter." "Peace through preparedness," Cortez mused. "An old concept made new." As night fell across the planet, citizens looked up at the stars with new awareness. The veil that had hidden Earth's true nature from alien eyes remained in place, But humanity's understanding of its place in the cosmos had changed forever. Somewhere out there, other civilizations waited, some peaceful, some predatory. But they would all learn the same lesson the Draconians had. Appearances can be deceiving, and Earth was far from defenseless. The hunters had become the hunted, and then, perhaps, something more. Equals in a vast and complex universe, where intelligence took many forms, but wisdom was universal. The Great Deception was over, but Earth's greatest adventure was just beginning.